Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final part of the 5th tier, that being the Weirdo tier, of the massive YouTube iceberg. Like I said in my previous videos, if this got recommended to you and you haven't been following the series and you want to go back and watch the previous episodes, my mic is really bad until like a third of the way through the first part of the 3rd tier. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the entries. Also, I realized I kind of forgot to actually talk about where we are in the iceberg chart proper in the last 2 parts of Tier 5. Whoops. Yeah, we're now in the waters below the iceberg. That doesn't mean we're anywhere near close to finishing, though. SpongeBob Cave Eaten Alive. This is a very rudimentary 3D animation showing SpongeBob while going into a cave and getting eaten by a giant eel. What makes it disturbing is SpongeBob's model, or rather models, as he has 3 throughout the video. The first 2 models each have like bloodshot eyes, and the third one's eyes are way too big and honestly kind of look like anime eyes, weirdly enough. And the second and third model both have heavily inflated cheeks. They're kind of like deflated balloons almost, the way they flop around. And the other thing that makes it disturbing is the background music, which is a bunch of highly loud and distorted keys that create a cacophony of noise that's vaguely in the same melody as the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song, and are accompanied by the lyrics to the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song, but being sung by a distorted voice. Scary Dancing Clown. The title of this video is pretty self-explanatory. It's a video of someone dressed in a clown's outfit and wearing a creepy clown mask and holding balloons that alternates between dancing in between a house and the fence surrounding the house and moving his face right up in front of the camera and then like sort of moving his hands around his face in this circular motion. And at the end of the video, he makes a motion as though he were going to grab the camera and then zooms the camera in right up to his eye, which you can see through the eye hole of the mask. In the background, it plays a song called Who's Your Little Who's, which is a song from 1952. And well, when the song came out, I can imagine it being just like some sweet, cheery love song. It just has that uncanniness that all old-timey songs seem to have, and amplifies the horror of the already pretty unnerving creepy clown dance video. Bananas exploding on face. I'm just going to read you what the description of this video says, since it does a pretty good job of summarizing it. Bananas blow up on guy's face. A Brooklyn-based artist, William Lamson, put on a mask embedded with firecracker-stuffed bananas and filmed himself lighting each fuse, causing the bananas to explode. What's the message? Art Slant says, the banana, a classic agent for slapstick pratfalls, has also now come to represent the pitfalls of corporate farming practices. I say, bananas are evil and must be destroyed. Although he says that, he might just be auditioning to be a new Slipknot member. I remember this video being like basically the poster child for the weird side of YouTube back in like the early days of YouTube, like 2012 to 2014. Like whenever someone like brought up the weird side of YouTube, they'd always bring this thing up as the first or one of the first examples. Also, he doesn't even blow up every banana on his face. Screaming Cat. I think this is just a mistake, and the creator of this iceberg put Screaming Cat on the iceberg twice. I don't know why it's here again. Unless, of course, there's another video called Screaming Cat, which, again, I wouldn't be able to find because there's like 70 million videos called Screaming Cat, and I barely even knew which one of those specific videos the entry was referring to the first time it showed up on this iceberg. I mean, again, if you think you know what it's referring to, please help me out in the comment section. Tonetta. Tonetta is a persona created by a man named Tony Anthony Jeffrey. Tony was a man who lived in Cabbagetown, a place in Canada, who was divorced by his wife, who got full custody of both of his kids, an event which, quite obviously, made him extremely upset, and he decided to express the emotions he felt from this loss of custody through artwork and music. He began creating lo-fi rock songs about a variety of topics. though a lot of his songs centered around sex, with the reason for this being because, in his own words, he hasn't had sex, so he just wants to write about it. His musical style is inspired by various popular bands from the 50s to 70s, as he refuses to watch any movies that came out after the 80s or listen to any songs that came out after the 80s. He created a persona that he would play whenever he performed these songs called Tonetta. When he played as Tonetta, he would sometimes show people his actual face, but a lot of the time he would be wearing one of many masks he had handcrafted. As in addition to being a musical artist, he's also just a plain artist and created paintings and sculptures that litter his room, alongside both drawings and photographs of nude women and baby dolls and all kinds of guitars. He claims that several of the paintings and sculptures he's made, he used his own shit to make because of how free and cheap it is. In addition to the mask, whenever he's playing Tonetta, while he sometimes wears ordinary casual clothing, he also sometimes dresses in drag, and other times he'll wear next to nothing, sometimes just being completely naked except for a thong. And in almost all of his recorded performances, he's just playing in front of a multicolored curtain he has in his house. Very few people knew about him or his musical style, or his music or his art, or really anything he did until YouTube came into existence and he began uploading on YouTube. Of course, under the channel name Tonetta. After he started uploading to YouTube, there were two major events that increased his popularity. One was being made fun of on Ray William Johnson's Equals 3 series, and the other was having his album 777 be reviewed by Anthony Fantano. Which, by the way, I believe the album is called that because he said in an interview that he thinks that, like, metal bands that are, like, about, like, Satanism and shit are full of bullshit, according to him. And so he was effectively making fun of them with that title, although I might just be reading too much into that title. Since his coverage on the two popular series, he has grown a sort of cult following fan base, although he sadly hasn't uploaded in over 2 years. The Sad Man. This is an animation taking place in this ruined town at winter, with the main character being this humanoid silhouette with a happy-looking mask. He's curled up inside of his home, where there's a drawing of him and someone with their face crossed out on the wall. He then wanders around outside, goes to an empty playground, and then goes back home, and draws an image of himself but with his face looking sad on the wall. Some spiders crawl over him, and he uses a knife to rip off one of his fingernails. He then goes back outside, and this time he finds the little girl, and the two of them become friends, and they play with each other at the playground. The girl lets him play with, like, what's either supposed to be a stuffed cat or an unalived cat, and he accidentally breaks it, but the girl doesn't seem to mind. And they keep playing, but then eventually the girl pulls off his mask and reveals this large fleshy tube with circles of sharp teeth revolving throughout it, and a bunch of red liquid drips from his mouth. And then he goes back home with the mask now once again on, and cries as he looks at the image of him and the other person with the other person's face crossed out. The way I see this is you could interpret it two ways. One way is it's a metaphor for some kind of mental issue, and this issue is making the man sad, but he has to pretend to be happy, and he struggles to make friends, and when he finally does make a friend, they end up seeing his true depressed nature represented by what was beneath his mask, and he ends up chasing them away. And the other way I can see you interpreting it is it's some sort of, like, mental issue that negatively harms both the person who has it and other people as well, such as narcissism. And because of this issue, they're unable to have any friends, and when they finally do get a friend, their issues end up metaphorically destroying their friend, which just makes them even more depressed. I'm a snake.
Snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a slithery little sneaky snake. I'm so slithery and sneaky because I'm a snake. Slithering in your garden, catching me a mouse. Snake. I'm a snake. Look into my eyes, Jungle Book. Look into my Mowgli, look in my eyes. I'm a slithery hypnotist snake. And the hypnotizing the Indian boy, so you can, I don't know, turn on that panther.
Flashing lights warning for this entry. Meneo, birth of the Santa Nalga / oh, excuse me, Ricky. Now, this entry is listed as 2 videos, but they're both the same video. The second is just a re-upload of the first. Now, this video is an edited version of a educational film meant to teach parents about how to talk to their kids about, master fish baiting, if you know what I'm talking about. In the original educational film, there's like this kid who's in his bed doing you know what, or well, he's implied to do you know what because of the ruffling in the blankets. Though you definitely wouldn't be able to guess from his dead blank expression just staring up at the ceiling. Then Ricky's mother bursts in through the door, the kid quickly tries to hide it, and so of course she does, the logical thing that most parents would and should do. She stares just straight at her kid with a blank expression and says, "Oh, excuse me, Ricky, I saw what you were doing. It felt good, didn't it? Don't do it in public. And talk to me later when you want to learn how to control your feelings or whatever. Bye." And then a narrator comes in and said, "This was the appropriate response because it lets the kid know that they're doing nothing wrong, blah, 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 blah." But anyway, this is besides the point. The YouTube video here, excuse me, Ricky / Meneo, the birth of Santa Nalga, is an edited version of this, where there's disturbing electronic music playing in the background. And as the mother says, "It felt good, didn't it, Ricky?" her voice slowly distorts. And then a large lump pops out from underneath the blanket where Ricky's ding-dong would be and grows bigger and bigger. And Ricky's mom's eyes grow massive and her mouth distorts into a twisted smile as her head nods up and down. And then the entire video gets replaced by this psychedelic kaleidoscope of colors with a face that has a sort of like reverse fisheye effect where it's zoomed in at its center in the middle of the screen, who says some words in Spanish, though I can't find any translation for these words. Now, I looked it up, and Meneo is apparently a Game Boy reggaeton and electro dance hall music artist, and he has an album called Santa Nalga, which translates to Holy Butt Cheek. However, I cannot find any song he's made called The Birth of Santa Nalga, even on his Santa Nalga album. So I think The Birth of Santa Nalga was made to promote his album Santa Nalga, just in a really weird way, which would kind of fit in with his character because based on a couple things I've read about him, he apparently likes to be naked when he performs and sell attendance to his show's diapers. So some sort of really weird and somewhat vulgar way of promoting an album like this doesn't seem out of the question for something Meneo would do. Dollface. There are actually 2 disturbing animations on YouTube titled Dollface, so I'll cover both of them. The more viewed one is of this multi-armed robot with a human face that sees a idealistic, beautiful human face on a TV, and so it brings out a bunch of like beauty products with its other arms and starts using them on its face to improve its face and make it better. But each time it manages to make itself as beautiful as the face on the TV moves back a little and creates a new, even more quote-unquote beautiful face. And the robot has to keep reaching its own face out further and further to try and reach the TV and see what it's presenting. And eventually it reaches out too far and collapses and breaks. Now, the other, less viewed, but still having 5 million views animation is one that was created in Malaysia and is fairly crude. And a lot of the comments on this video talk about the crude animation and low quality of it actually being what made the video more terrifying to them than it would have otherwise been. Also, it was originally Malaysian and was translated to English, and you can only understand it in English through the closed captions, which leads to some slightly funny translation errors. The story of this video is about this girl who wants to be an actress, but she's not beauty enough to become one, so she gets plastic surgery while being wide awake and conscious, and the doctor waters this flower that somewhat blooms. But she's still not beauty enough to become an actress, so she undergoes plastic surgery again, but the doctor warns her of risks, And then he waters the flower again, and it fully blooms. And now she's beautiful enough to be an actress. But she's a couple years or so later. I don't know. They never make a how much time has passed clear. Her body doesn't meet the new beauty standards of the day, and she wants to undergo another plastic surgery. But the doctor warns her she has too much surgery. She can't have another. So she gets an illegal surgery or goes to another place, I guess. And when she gets the surgery, her face shatters like glass or cracks like glass. They actually don't show it shattering. And then the doctor waters his flower again and it wilts. And that's the end of the animation. Number 15. Haunted doll moves its head on camera. In this video, you can see a 15-year-old girl holding a quinceañera doll, and she insults it in Spanish, and it moves its head to look at her without anyone else moving it. And then she freaks out and screams. Chills actually covered this in his video, Top 15 Scariest Haunted Dolls Caught on Camera or something like that. But I came up with this bit before I saw that video, and I only came up with this bit because this sounded like the exact kind of thing that Chills would cover. And I was right, cause he did cover it. Flashing lights warning for this next entry. Rubber Johnny by Chris Cunningham and Aphex Twin. This video was originally a 30-second advertisement for Aphex Twin's album Drunks, which featured this chihuahua with enlarged glowing eyes walking around in the dark, and then finding this shriveled up humanoid being with a massive head lying down on a wheelchair who makes gibberish noises. This commercial was made by Chris Cunningham, who wanted to expand this idea from simply a 30-second commercial to a full-fledged music video, specifically for the song Aphex 237 version 7 from the album. Yeah, this album truly has some of the greatest song titles of all time in it. Jinwei Thick, Voldhosben, Klad Fugunben Misik, Jai Switch 7, Strachte Gwilly Michens, Badi Dichi Encore, Avril 14th, Cock / version 10, Guarak 2. Alright, I'll stop now. But this music video starts with someone interviewing the alien-like creature, which I'll refer to as Johnny, and he simply responds to every answer with gibberish or muttering mama, like he's some kind of baby. Then after a little bit of the interview, it cuts to where the commercial picked up. A rubber object that's either a balloon or a condom gets inflated with Aphex Twin written on it and then popped, and then the music starts playing, and Johnny starts dancing around with his body morphing to the beat and his arms rapidly flying around his body and deflecting these white lines that fly in from the sides of the screen, also in sync to the beat. Which, by the way, the song is made by Aphex Twin, so of course the beat is this super wonky experimental electronic music. A little ways into the video, the song is interrupted by someone bursting into the room and muttering something that, due to his heavy accent and the sound being somewhat drowned out because of how far away he is, it's kind of hard for me to tell what he's saying, and to be honest, I have no idea what he's saying. Then the dude leaves and the music video continues. Rubber Johnny snorts some white powder on the table, and he continues dancing around some more, this time now shoving his body up in the pane of the camera, with his body being squished into this blob-like shape each time he does so, incorporating sort of body horror-esque elements into the music video. At the very end of the video, that person who burst into the room earlier bursts in again, says pretty much what I think is the same thing, and then Rubber Johnny lies down and the video ends. Very creepy, disturbing children's cartoon, banned from TV. This video is a segment taken from the movie The Adventures of Mark Twain, which is a claymation movie That's essentially an anthology of various different works Mark Twain has created, shown to the viewer through the perspective of characters from his most popular stories, like Huckleberry Finn, going through these different claymated worlds based off of the stories. With the particular scene used in this video being the scene recreating the story The Mysterious Stranger. Now, I want to get something out of the way. Despite what the title of this video would have you believe, I could not find anything about this movie actually being banned anywhere. The closest I could find is that this movie was aired on Disney Channel a couple times, or maybe only once, and when they aired it, they cut out the Mysterious Stranger scene because of how disturbing it was, but the rest of the movie was fine and it was never banned. Though, do take this with a grain of salt, because I could hardly find anything about this, and the best source I can find on this is just someone saying, yeah, trust me, bro. So, in the actual scene, the main characters, who are Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and Becky Thatcher, open the door to this elevator and enter the world of the mysterious stranger, where they instantly meet this being whose body is composed of a suit of armor growing out from the ground, but he's headless, and in place of a head or face, he carries a stick with him that has a mask at the top of it, which he holds in front of his head, or where his head would be, to give the illusion of it being a face. And because it's claymation, this mask continually shifts to match his emotions and what he's saying, and his voice sounds like multiple different voices all overlapped on top of one another and combining to make this sort of unified voice. The kids ask who he is, and he responds that he's an angel, and then they ask him his name, and he says, Satan. He then invites them into the world, which is this floating white island in the middle of a void. From there, he pulls clay from the island and forges it into fruit for the kids to eat, forging it into each of the kids' favorite fruits. And then he forges it into sentient, human-esque creatures who build this civilization with a king and cows and music. But eventually, the humans start fighting, to which Satan gets upset and finds them annoying, so he crushes two of them, turning them into coffins. This upsets the other humans, who then have a funeral, to which Satan remarks that humans have such strange customs. He then casts an earthquake and a storm over the civilization, which consumes and destroys all the humans within it, and completely erases the civilization from the island, after which Satan remarks, I can do no wrong, for I know not what it is. And the kids then, of course, get mad at him, saying that he unalived a bunch of people, to which he responds, Never mind them. People are of no value. We can make more of them if we need to. Following this, the kids run back to the elevator, and everything within the void, including Satan himself, slowly disappears as Satan leaves one final speech. Life itself is only a vision, a dream. Nothing exists in empty space, and you are but a thought. While I haven't read the original The Mysterious Stranger, I have done a little bit of research on it, and from what I've researched, it seems like the original was a sort of parody of Abrahamic religions, and was basically saying that, like, the universe clearly doesn't care about humans, so there are no higher beings, and if there are, they're pretty cruel. But the Adventures of Mark Twain segment based off of this seems to, while still somewhat embodying that message, seems to be more so embodying existential and nihilistic themes and sort of forcing the viewer to confront humanity's place in a universe that, at least if viewed through an atheistic lens, doesn't really care for humanity all that much. Mama, short film. This is a couple-minute long horror film which is quite simplistic. There's these two children that are in a house, and they're worried because their mother got back. So they try to escape the house, but they find the door is locked. The mother then walks up to a doorway leading to the room they're in, and you can see that she's, like, pretty messed up. Her body is all, like, stiff, and she only moves by, like, twitching around. And her hair is just this floating mess, completely obscuring almost all of her head. But then she goes from just standing there creepily to charging at them, and she just speeds up, both in terms of how fast she moves and in terms of how quickly she twitches around as she does so. The two children quickly run away from her, and one of them gets into the children's room, but locks the door, leaving the other one left out in the hallway. Forced to watch as the mother then makes her way into the hallway and then charges the child. right as the movie ends, or the short film ends. Guillermo del Toro found this short film and he liked it so much that he expanded it into a feature-length movie. And he made a short promotional video for the movie in which he talked about the short and explained that, like, why he liked it, and he praised the claustrophobic atmosphere of it as well as the unsettling atmosphere. I ate my baby for dinner, Sims 2. There was this mod for The Sims 2 a while back called OMG WTF BBQ, and this mod allowed you to replace the ordinary food that Sims would grill with babies. And once you finished grilling the babies, they would actually look like they had been cooked, like their skin would have a more burned texture that resembles like a suckling pig. And yes, your Sims could still eat it. Now, this mod was actually quite controversial for reasons I think you can probably guess, but especially so because of the amount of moms that played The Sims 2, as well as the fact that, like, the instinct to protect children is like one of the most basic and strongest primitive instincts humans have. Now, there were quite a few Sims YouTubers who created stories using The Sims 2, and some of them created stories using the OMG WTF BBQ mod. The video on the iceberg here, I ate my baby for dinner, is the most famous of these videos. This video follows a mother who has been detained by police, who interrogate her, in which she tells a story, which is the rest of the video. She explains that she had a boyfriend, and the boyfriend impregnated her, and both of them were really excited for the baby, but the husband seemed less excited than the mother. And eventually, the mother found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her with a clothing remover. Gee, I swear, I wish I could just, like, have a fucking list of the words I can say and can't say so that YouTube would recommend my video. But after this, she kicks him out of the house and becomes extremely stressful and basically becomes depressed. Eventually, she starts playing with the refrigerator, in her own words, and during this, her water breaks, and so she gives birth to the baby. But she hates the baby because of how much it whines and cries and throws up everywhere. All the shit that babies normally do. Plus, because it was from her boyfriend and she resents her boyfriend for cheating on her. So eventually she decides to unalive her baby. She initially wants to do this by simply laying the baby on, like, the grass in some random field, but she changes her mind after she gets hungry and instead grills the baby, and this is where the video utilizes the OMG WTF BBQ mod. She barbecues the baby, she cuts it into some pieces, and she eats the pieces. And then the cop, after hearing the woman's story, is like, "Okay, you suck, you're going to jail now." Eat the hell. There's a multi-part live-action series on YouTube called There Will Be a Brawl, which is a parody of Super Smash Bros. And in one part of this series, they have someone playing Sonic by dressing up in a Sonic costume complete with a very unnervingly realistic snout mask, who is in an alley and in a wheelchair as he's both homeless and crippled, and he eats a very disgusting looking chili dog while crying. Now, the creators of There Will Be Brawl released a video called Eat the Hell, which is behind the scenes on this specific scene, and it allows the audience to see a much closer shot of Sonic eating the hot dog, which makes it seem much more disgusting in the original video. Plus, this video is stripped of the context of the original There Will Be Brawl, and a lot of people saw this video. In fact, I'd say most of the people who saw this video had never even heard of There Will Be Brawl, which makes the situation even more disturbing. Without the context, it just looks like some disabled person wearing a creepy Sonic costume was forced to eat, like, diarrhea hot dog. Also, for whatever reason, fairly recently, I think, because I definitely saw this video like a year or so ago, but this video has been privated, though I was able to find 2 re-uploads, kind of. I found a video of Etika, rest in peace, reacting to it, and an edit of it, but I cannot find the actual, like, original video uploaded just by itself. Creepy broken tornado siren in Chicago. It's someone filming Chicago while it's extremely foggy and a disturbing broken siren is playing in the background. The audio from this video was famously used in multiple videos pertaining to Siren Head. creepy Japanese Furby commercial. This is a fake Furby commercial designed to look like a real one, to the point that the creator even went so far as to use clips from actual commercials at the beginning and end to make it look like it was recorded directly from its airing on TV. The commercial starts off fairly normal, other than the Hatsune Miku song in the background. That is until suddenly imagery of the Illuminati and satanic imagery start flashing on screen. And then the Furby is having his fur being torn off by these occultists in front of a pentagram, and he's being burned on a St. Peter's cross. And then when he's just an endoskeleton, the occult raises a knife above him and stabs him with it. And then he's wrapped in a snake in front of an Illuminati all-seeing eye pyramid thing. And then he grows the skull of a Bahamut, while more of this imagery flashes on screen. And then it cuts back to just being a normal commercial before it ends. And fun fact, the person who made this fake commercial has made several real commercials, including most of the Omega Mart commercials. America TV Let's Play. This is pretty much your standard run-of-the-mill shitty kids YouTube channel, although he hasn't marked any of his videos as for kids, because of course he hasn't. How would he make money otherwise? It contains your typical toy unboxing, surprise egg, dog shit. Though most of the videos focus on candy and just eating and unwrapping absolutely enormous amounts of candy. The only thing that really separates this channel from your typical shitty kids channel is that the creator of the videos acts like a child in the videos, which just comes across as really weird. It's kind of like a discount Blippy almost. I saw a few Reddit posts that were talking about how like they theorized that this man might be mentally ill and like someone was forcing him to make these videos, but that just no, I think he's just pretending to be a kid because it will get him money on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. Andyland. Andyland is an animator and YouTuber who primarily makes 2D pixel art animations and 3D animations designed to look like PS1 graphics. Most of the videos on his channel are under a minute long, which means most of them are YouTube shorts. Though judging by the proportions of the videos, some of them were probably not intended to be shorts and were marked as shorts afterward either by YouTube itself or by Andyland. Most of the animations on his channel are bright, colorful, and generally happy, and even if they're more dark in their themes, like an animation about a couple getting divorced, or an animation about how giant corporations suck the souls away from animators, essentially, and steal all their work and turn it into just shitty products and suck all of the passion out of it. Even in animations like that, the animation itself remains lighthearted and colorful. The exception to this rule would be his birthday series, which is a series of animations which he makes on each of his birthdays that really capture the whole like you're getting closer to unalivement, you're 1 year older, you're moving away from the past, you're moving away from the things that you once knew and the things that you find nostalgic, and that whole like dark aspect of birthdays. And they often are accompanied by caretaker music and take place in these dark void-like rooms with these shadowy beings interacting with blank doll, ragdoll-like beings that, well, a ragdoll-like being, which I think is supposed to represent Andy. He's also created and worked in the design and art of various games, including Underlevel, Olive's Art Adventure, Mimochi Dust, and a game he's currently working on called Endocopia, which he's already released a demo for. He's also made the music video for the song Canned Soup by the band Manwolves, and he's created 2 commercials for Item Label, YTP Sexer. This is just the greatest video of all time, and no one can say otherwise. It's a YouTube poop based off of Toy Story that incorporates a variety of other sources into it, namely sources of people shouting, "Bitch, shut the fuck up your ass," Big Mouth, not the show Big Mouth, but like just some kid saying Big Mouth, "Hi, I got a boner," "Shut up and take my money," and many, many more. And the video is just those sound effects just being repeatedly played over and over with little to no rhyme or reason, combined with the song You Got a Friend in Me being randomly reversed, explosion sound effects, complete with shitty explosion graphics that just loop backwards and forwards and just repeat several times. A part of the video where it's like Woody and Buzz fall off a bed and they're like hugging onto one another, and it like loops that part over and over with like sexy jazz music playing in the background to make it look like they're, And the best part of the entire video, when Buzz goes up to talk to Woody, but instead of just saying bitch or shut the fuck up or up your ass like at every other point in the video, he just the Halloween theme plays. It just does everything wrong, like everything that a YouTube poop should not do. Its humor is terrible and juvenile, and it's so low quality, but all of this makes it just so bad that it loops back around into being absolutely amazing. It's like the room of YouTube poops. I would play this thing here. Hell, I'd play it in its entirety, but the video did get age restricted, and I don't want this getting age restricted, so you can go look it up on your own. After you watch this, shittyflute. This is a YouTube channel which makes really bad flute covers of various songs. Although sadly, that iconic video of someone playing My Heart Will Go On from the Titanic with the flute poorly is not from this YouTube channel. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot I can say here. Tornado hits house while kids make first video. There's two kids and they're, making their first YouTube video, which is the smoothie challenge, where they're basically just making a random smoothie by drawing names of ingredients out of a bowl, when suddenly the wind just gets really loud, and the dad quickly shouts at the kids to run into the basement, and they do. The camera then just films the table for a few seconds before the wind really picks up in the table and the objects on it start shaking. And then the dad or someone else picks up the camera and turns it off. The description for the video says that the roof and deck were both torn off of the house and that there was no notice or alert warning the family of the tornado. Though due to the angle that the camera is in, we don't actually get to see the deck or roof be torn off during the video. The perfect face. This is a Blender animation which shows a basic gray human face model, which morphs between the faces of a variety of celebrities, whom are considered to be traditionally attractive, and are of different ethnicities and genders and ages. Then it combines the average of the proportions of all these faces to form what would be objectively considered the most attractive or perfect human face, and this is what it looks like. Heinz Automato.
Heinz! It's automatic!
It's automatic!
Johnny Johnny Yes Papa, free fun education nursery rhymes for kids. This is a really shitty 3D animated YouTube video, which is based off of the Johnny Johnny Yes Papa nursery rhyme. Although, despite said nursery rhyme having that big trend of YouTube videos based off of it in 2018, this video in particular actually came out before that trend. Now, both this video and the videos on the YouTube channel that it came from, Educate 2.0, are what I believe to be a parody of shitty kids' YouTube channels. And the reason for this is both because of the low quality of the animation, though that isn't saying a whole lot, because of the fact that not all of the videos are marked for kids, again, not the strongest evidence, but mainly because of the amount of jokes in these videos that I don't think kids would understand, and the lack of frequent uploads to the channel. Because if it was truly a shitty kids content farm, then they would be uploading constantly, not just once every year. It starts out the same as any ordinary Johnny Johnny video. Johnny goes into the kitchen, he grabs a jar of sugar, he starts using his hand like a shovel to scoop the sugar into his mouth. The father stretches into the room and says, "Johnny, Johnny," and Johnny's like, "Yes, Papa." And then, "Eating sugar? No, Papa. Telling lies? No, Papa. Open your mouth. Ah, ah, ah." And then Johnny eats the jar of sugar and burps out the lid of it. The two of them then chase each other around the kitchen, which causes a whirlwind to like throw the silverware out of the drawers, which then flies into Johnny's mouth. The father and Johnny repeat the song, but with silverware instead of sugar. Johnny burps out a fork. The two of them then run around the kitchen some more. Some pigs run out of like a cabinet under the sink. Johnny and his father turn into pigs, but with their heads still intact. Then they turn back into humans, and the father, and Johnny repeat the same song, except when the father says pigs, his eyes transform into pig heads, and the background turns into a picture of real life pigs. And then Johnny says he hasn't eaten pigs, and he burps out pig eyes. And then Johnny tries to eat his father, but his father picks him up and eats him instead, and laughs as the video ends. And the entire thing has this infernal fucking banjo playing in the background. Other videos on this channel are very similar to this one, with the same shitty 3D animation style, same stupid banjo in the background. They reuse the same burp and laugh sound effects and almost always end with Johnny's father eating him. Some of these videos are just reskins of the Johnny Johnny Yes Papa video, but made to look more Halloween, Christmas, or pirate themed, and with sound effects added in to match up with those themes. Some of them are completely new songs, still featuring Johnny and his papa, including one song based off of Halloween, one song based off of Christmas, and Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And two of them are these surprise egg videos where it starts off like a normal, surprise egg video, just some real life person with gloves grabbing clay eggs and trying to open them. But in the first one of these surprise egg videos, halfway through, after he opens an egg, a shitty 3D animated version of Papa dressed as Elsa flies out of it, to which the person narrating the video claims it's Ulsa, and then she sings some song about ice that I can barely hear because of just how high-pitched her voice is. And in the second surprise egg video, it's again starts off normal, but then he opens an egg and some like shitty 3D recreations of minions fly out, which the narrator proclaims are mini-men, and then they sing some songs about fruits, and then Ulsa comes in and she also joins in the song. And these videos pretty much confirm to me that this channel is satire or a parody of some kind. There's also two more of these videos called Ding Dong Bell, and one which is titled Tamatar Bada Mazadar, which, if you remember, was a video I talked about earlier. It was like that Hindi nursery rhyme about like tomatoes. And both of these videos are just so fucking they feel like I feel like I'm going insane when I watch them. They're Ding Dong Bell is like Johnny just putting a cat in a well, and he like turns into God and starts moving trees around, and then another version of him eats himself. And in the tomato one, he turns into like a red version of his head that bounces around and clones himself until the entire world becomes covered in bouncing versions of his head. But then it cuts back to him and his father eating tomatoes for dinner, and his father sends another version of his head out of the background to eat Johnny. These videos genuinely unnerve me just because I think I actually feel like I'm insane when I watch them. Dentist Robot Malfunctions becomes aware. This is a shitpost where someone took a video of a dentist robot, which are, robots designed to look like dental patients that dentists in training will practice on. And it was programmed to freak out like a dental patient would by like moving its head around. And this video takes that raw footage and adds a realistic screaming effect over it to make it look like the robot has become self-aware and is trying to escape. I remember there was like a brief period of time where whenever you opened a private browser on YouTube, this fucking video always was on the homepage. I have no idea why. But the weirdest thing about this video is nothing about the video itself, but by the YouTube channel that posted it, that being Oni Plays. Yeah, so apparently Chris used to just upload random shitposts to the Only Plays channel, in addition to the normal videos they upload. And for whatever reason, this one became so popular that it's actually the most viewed video on the Only Plays YouTube channel. It has 10 million views, which is 600,000 more than their second most viewed video, which is Best of Zach, which is, a video you'd actually expect to be popular. And there's no other shitpost like this anywhere in like their top dozens of videos. If you sort their channel by popular, or sort their channel's videos by popular and then scroll down, you'll have to scroll quite a while before you find another shitpost. And what makes this even funnier and I guess weirder is the fact that people in the comment section, even people who are Oni Plays fans, don't even seem to recognize the fact that this is an Oni Plays video until it's directly pointed out. Popsicle. TwistedGrim. TwistedGrim is an animator who creates a variety of content, some lewd, some disturbing, some mundane. This video in particular of theirs, simply titled Popsicle, is well known for having traumatized several children who watched it. The video is of this anime girl in a swimsuit on the beach, and she's holding a popsicle, and she's preparing to suck it, but as she does, her face rips open into several, petals of flesh with jagged teeth around them, sort of similar to a demigorgon, even though Stranger Things came out long after this video was made. And she has this gaping hole in the center of her mouth flower with eyeballs on some sort of tendrils that are sticking out of said hole. And these tendrils reach out, grab the popsicle, as the petals of her mouth close in around her hand, and she bites off her hand, swallowing both it and the popsicle, as a massive fountain of red liquid then sprays from where her hand once was. And then she laughs and burps with her face contorting back into the flower for a split second before the video ends. Diglett's secret. So for those of you who are not Pokemon fans or whose knowledge of Pokemon is somewhat rusty, Diglett is a Pokemon who takes an appearance similar to a mole, but his head is always popping out of the ground, yet you never get to see anything below the ground, which has led to a lot of theories and jokes about what the true body of Diglett beneath the ground looks like. Especially around the late 2000s and early 2010s. It was basically peak Pokemon community comedy then. These theories could range from anything as mundane as it simply being a mole, to anything as insane as it being an eldritch horror or a buff bodybuilder. This particular YouTube video, Diglett's Secret, shows Pikachu, specifically Ash's Pikachu, walking up to a Diglett, and them having a short conversation before the Pikachu asks to see Diglett's lower half, to which Diglett refuses. So Pikachu pulls Diglett out of the ground. And Diglett is a ding-dong with a pair of balls and two long claw-like arms protruding out of it. And then there's a button that says subscribe in 5 seconds or Diglett will teabag Pikachu. But regardless of whether you subscribe or not, the Diglett does teabag Pikachu. I would tell you when this video was made, but I think you can already figure that out. Weird exploding sea creature. This is a video which shows two Japanese men go to an island while fishing, where they spot several of these pink blob-like creatures attaching themselves to a rock, and when they start to get close to them, all of the creatures scurry away, but one remains on the ground nearby. They flip it over with a stick and reveal that on its underside is this very disgusting looking hole, which I honestly don't know if I can even show on YouTube, and they then poke it with a stick several times, and then do the most logical thing that anyone would do after discovering a new species, pour Coca-Cola onto it, to which the creature reacts by spraying white fluid out of its hole, and just a big stream of it. And then, almost immediately after this, exploding, after which the video ends. This is obviously fake, as the creature that they found has no foot-like protrusions anywhere beneath its body that would allow it to move the way that the ones on the rock were able to. And the explosion looks like it was done in CGI. Though I do have to admit, this is much more convincing than a lot of other internet hoaxes, just by the sheer fact that it's an ocean creature, and creatures in the ocean are just so fucking weird and alien when compared to terrestrial biology sometimes. I mean, if shit like the anglerfish and the blobfish and the spotted scorpion fish are all capable of existing, then this blob-like creature doesn't really seem like too much of a stretch. But while the video is obviously fake, I'm not entirely sure where it came from. A few of the comments of the video say that it's from a Japanese horror movie or like a Japanese anthology series of some kind, but I can't find anything directly confirming this. The Face Shop. The Face Shop is a short, dark comedy animation for children, which is about this kid named Faceless Neil who has empty eye sockets and no nose or mouth, and he's guided into the face shop by this black wisp-like creature who has a skull for a head with sharp, jagged teeth. And the face shop is run by this yellow slug-like creature with 6 eyes and sharp, jagged teeth. The kid tries on several different pairs of eyes that are in the shelves of the store, and each time he tries a new pair of eyes on, it transitions a 2D animation to a real-life puppet. The kid tries on a bunch of different pairs of eyes, but none of them seem to work, so then he switches to trying on mouths, but none of these work either, until eventually one of the two monsters hands him a needle and thread and tells him to sew his own mouth, which he does, and then he can talk, though he doesn't get a new set of eyes. Most brutal metal scream. This video is an edited clip of the music video for the song Dig by the band Mudvayne, which starts off normal except when they get to the big, intense, brutal metal scream, it's edited and replaced by The same YouTube channel also made a 10-year anniversary version of it where they replaced the scream with coughing instead. Number 047, Pin Sieto Hige Nuki, Pull Out a Beard by the Tweezer. This is a video which zooms in on this fleshy, gooey substance that has long black cylinders sticking out of it designed to look like human hair, and a pair of tweezers pulls these out of the substance, which to most people looks pretty gross. However, the reason this video exists is because of a mental disorder called trichotillomania. I definitely butcher the pronunciation of that, which is a mental disorder where someone wants to rip the hair out of their head and is very impulsively wants to rip the hair out of their own head and can't stop themselves from doing this. And so videos like this are intended to basically allow someone to see hair being ripped out of flesh without having to do it themselves. And it sort of calms the impulses. And for whatever reason, this particular video is just the most popular of these types of videos, though I don't think there's any actual reason for that. This just kind of seems like something the algorithm decided arbitrarily to be popular. Strangest theater performance ever, also known as Man with Pole. This is a recording of a theater performance art piece, which shows this man who's like hanging onto a metal arch, and there's this woman that's crawling on the ground using only her arms, which have metal poles attached to them, and she has a microphone in her mouth and is making this like "ah" noise. And then another man walks onto the stage. Now he has like these metal poles taped to his arms, and he's only moving himself via these metal poles, using them like crutches, and is not using his legs at all. And he pulls himself over to the metal arch thing that the other man was near earlier. And this man, he has a long metal rod jutting out of his crotch, and this is the most well-known part of the video. He then thrusts his crotch up and down, causing the metallic pole to fling up and down and bang against the metal arch several times. Once he finishes doing this, he collapses and grabs onto the metal arch thing, and while this happens, another man walks onto the stage wearing a blindfold and grabs this cane-like thing, but instead of using it like a cane, he puts his mouth at one end of it and reveals that it's actually a flute-like instrument and starts playing it before the video ends. The description of this video seems to imply that it was about mating calls. Tarako Commercials. This is a series of advertisements originating from Japan, which advertise QP brand Tarako flavored pasta sauce. For those who don't know, Tarako, which is also referred to as pollock roe, are egg sacs of Alaskan pollock, containing the eggs and embryos within them. Now, the logo for the QP brand is, well, a QP doll, which is this type of doll in Japan that's like these little nude babies. They obviously don't have any like features, or they have Barbie doll anatomy, but they're these little nude baby creatures with like really big heads. So the advertising team for Kewpie decided to combine Tarako with Kewpie dolls. So in all of their commercials, they have these armies of sentient Tarako with Kewpie doll heads pasted onto them. And these Kewpie just march towards this little girl who's eating pasta with Kewpie sauce. I guess march isn't the right word, but like they hop towards her in a very marching-like fashion. And the whole time that they do so, a duo of elementary school girls named, well, the Tarako girls, sing Tarako, Tarako in the background. And the combination of how weird these mascots are, with the almost hypnotic chants and the constant march of the Tarako dolls, the commercial is considered by some people to be weird or creepy. Loituma Onion Smash. This video is a parody of the leak spin video I talked about like 2 tiers ago, and it's essentially making fun of how it's drawn, because in the animation the girl's hand just spins around in a full 360-degree rotation multiple times, which can be excused because, you know, it's an anime art style, but obviously doesn't make any sense in real life. This video makes fun of that by starting off like the original leak spin video, but as the girl continues spinning her hand, her arm sort of twists around itself, until eventually she twists it too much, and then it comes spinning back into place and rapidly spinning backwards, causing the leak to rapidly spin backwards with it, which whacks her several times in the process. And by the time her arm has finished spinning, the girl looks very beaten up. It then plays the same music that was in the original leak spin video, but now heavily slowed down. While I don't think this video was intended to be disturbing, it's the contrast between how innocent the original video was versus how the Onion Smash video is in comparison that makes it seem more disturbing than it actually is. And the ending of the video of the girl just sitting there beaten up with this slowed down music in the background feels very ominous. And as one of the replies to the top comment points out, this ominous atmosphere leaves our brain to think that there's something that's going to happen, something like a jump scare, but then it never does, and we're just stuck with this feeling of dread without any payoff. Okay, I'm not going to read the title for this entry because I want YouTube to actually recommend my video to people, so you can look on the screen and see the censored version of the title. This is a parody of The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny by Neo Cicerega, aka Lemon Demon, complete with the animation created by Sean Vules, and it rewrites the lyrics of the original song to, instead of being about all the characters fighting each other, be about all the characters fucking each other. And that's pretty much it. The joke is sex, and that's it. Mope Mope. By the way, this title of the video is in Japanese, and in Japanese, it's pronounced Mope Mope, but when translated to English, it also just says Mope Mope, so I don't know what's going on with the title. But this video is a 3D animation that starts off all cute and innocent. It takes place in this grassy field with these smiling flowers bouncing around, and these smiling ball creatures bouncing along the road, all set to bright and happy music playing in the background. But as the video goes on, it starts to glitch and turn red a couple times, after which the entire video essentially corrupts. The landscape becomes this red hellscape. The flowers and bouncy balls gain realistic smiley faces and lose their eyes. The flower petals turn into hands, and hands start reaching out from the ground, and eyeballs fill the sky. The soundtrack initially changes from the bright, happy, peaceful soundtrack to a fast, almost breakcore-like sound, or song, I guess, before then turning into a much more sinister version of the original background music. Then finally, at the end of the animation, everything changes to be bright and happy once again, as we see one of the flowers dance a little bit more before the video ends. I'm not gonna lie, being perfectly honest, this video kind of feels like someone tried to do the innocent thing turning scary, but didn't know how to do it very well, or really like distinguish it from everyone else who had used that concept. Unfortunately, and I don't really see too many people in the comment section acting like it was all that scary. Though I guess it should also be noted that, to its credit, this video came out long after most of the scary viral YouTube horror videos, with this one being as recent as 2017. It's actually gained more fame for its music, which I can understand, as its music is actually really good and catchy. And specifically, it has gained fame with it being incorporated into several rhythm games, as it goes from really peaceful and easy to extremely difficult and hard, and catches people who play it by surprise. Nakajima. This is a YouTuber who specializes in the creation of a variety of crafts through both handwork and 3D printing. What he's most well known for, though, is his Thomas the Tank Engine series, where he creates a variety of toy vehicles with Thomas the Tank Engine's face on them. When I say vehicles, I don't mean like cars, I mean like a spider mech with a laser pointer, a flamethrower train thing, a humanoid mech, a remote-controlled tube with a wheel on either end of it, transformer versions of Thomas the Tank Engine, a submarine, a robot dog, a monster truck. There's one that isn't even really a vehicle, it's just Thomas's face attached to this device that can be stuck onto a wall and can then move around on the wall at the control of a remote controller. Also, in addition to these Thomas the Tank Engine creations, he's also modded Thomas the Tank Engine, or mech-like versions of him, into various games, including Choo Choo Charles and Armored Core. And as an April Fool's video, he created a VTuber model with Thomas the Tank Engine's head, which looks pretty disturbing. Kid Behind a Camera. Kid Behind a Camera is a prank and comedy YouTuber who made videos with his father, the Angry Grandpa Show, who passed away in 2017 due to pneumonia. Both of these two were wrapped up in a ton of controversies, so I'll go over all of them from least egregious to most egregious. Firstly, there's the typical accusation you see thrown around at prank channels, which is that the pranks are fake and staged. Then there's the clickbait, as after the Angry Grandpa Show passed away, Kid Behind Camera pretty much had nothing to do in terms of content, and just started clickbaiting every single video he made, to the point where when he announced that he was getting married, people didn't even believe him. Then there's him profiting off of the Angry Grandpa Show's passing, as he created a monetized video within the first 24 hours after the Angry Grandpa Show's passing. And in this video, he links merchandise about the Angry Grandpa Show. And then when confronted about this, said this was because like the company had a deal with him and he had to do it. And there was also the time when he told the tattoo artist that was going to tattoo a motorcycle on the Angry Grandpa Show's back to instead tattoo a biohazard symbol and the phrase, "My ass stinks," which obviously very much pissed off the Angry Grandpa Show, so much so that he disowned Kid Behind the Camera, though they later did apologize to each other and make up for it. And then finally, there is the abuse allegations. Both Kid Behind a Camera and his siblings talk about Angry Grandpa Show having abused them in the past, and they talk about it in a worryingly casual way. They say that he's changed after he stopped being an alcoholic, but his actions in their YouTube videos would beg otherwise. There's one video in which the Angry Grandpa Show kicks a kid's head and pushes the kid backwards with far more force than should ever be applied to a small, like, toddler's head. I guess it was more of like a 5-year-old than a toddler, but the point still stands. Don't kick kids. Multiple videos of him where he wore a Michael Myers mask and scared multiple members of his family, including his defenseless 5 to 6-year-old nephews. A video where he let his 5 to 6-year-old nephews play very violent video games, and then when they got very scared by this, locked them in the room and prevented them from leaving. And perhaps most egregious of all is a video where the Angry Grandpa Show yells at like a 6-year-old kid, screaming about how he looks like a queer, and then throws a toy truck at him. This guy is friends with Boogie2988, who just ignores all these like blatantly abusive garbage that this guy does. So just thought I'd let you know that. OMG, amazing dancer. Watch full screen. Really funny. Take a wild guess as to what this video is. If you guessed it is a screamer, you're correct. Though to be fair to whoever titled this video, this was created a long time ago when screamers and the tactics people would use to dancing man wearing a horse mask eats wild mushrooms. This is a video of some Japanese guy wearing nothing but a horse mask and one of those like thong things that has its straps stretch out over the shoulders, and a towel hanging from it to cover up his junk. He dances around for a little bit and then runs into the forest not wearing anything, not even the horse mask, and carries a backpack with him which he uses to cover his junk, and he picks a bunch of wild mushrooms which he puts inside of the bag. He then returns to his house where he cooks up the wild mushrooms, now once again wearing the horse mask and thong, and he dances while cooking them, and then when he's finished cooking them, he takes off the horse mask and eats them. Monster and Sewer caught on camera during survey. This video was initially released by United Utilities on March 31st, 2011. And while I don't know the exact time that it was uploaded, I think it was probably uploaded like around midnight because this video was intending to be an April Fool's prank. The video shows footage of a camera driving through like a sewer system, and it sees this shadowy creature with glowing white eyes that looks at the camera, peeks out from behind this turn in the sewers, and then runs back into the darkness. The video was created both as an April Fool's joke and also to raise awareness of fatbergs, with the monster in the sewers being a sort of metaphor for fatbergs. And for those who don't know, fatbergs are these just absolutely disgusting clumps of all kinds of waste that form in sewers thanks to grease. Because grease acts as a sort of adhesive that causes all the shit in sewers to stick together. And so the grease just collects everything and it piles together into these massive solid clumps that end up clogging up sewers. Now, despite this video being nothing more than a PSA/April Fool's joke, it was re-uploaded the day after it came out by the YouTube channel FPV Madness, which added a little bit of extra footage of a camera going through some sewers to, I guess, make it seem more legit, and retitled the video to Monster and Sewer Caught on Camera During Survey, and it replaced the description explaining that it was simply an April Fool's joke/PSA with very strange, still unexpected, filmed in the Victorian sewers. And this video ended up getting over 2 million views, which is about 400,000 views more than the original video got. And of course, obviously managed to trick people into thinking that this sewer monster was real because of all of these factors. Don't put it in your mouth. This is a Canadian PSA starring these two blue discount Sesame Street characters, which I feel like every single Canadian YouTuber has talked about at some point. The ad, I'm honestly not even entirely sure why this ad has become as well known as it is, but I think it most likely relates to two things. One, it takes place in this black void and is recorded on an old VHS tape, so it comes with that sort of vintage analog terror that just a lot of these old PSAs tend to have. And two, well, it's a PSA about not eating like old food and medicine and potentially hazardous materials, and they decide to tell kids not to do this by singing "Don't Put It in Your Mouth," which, you know, becomes a bit of a double entendre.
Don't you put it in your mouth. Don't you put it in your mouth. Don't you stuff it in your face. Don't stuff it in your face. Though it might look good to eat. Though it might look good to eat. And it might look good to taste. And it might look good to taste. You could get sick. Yuck.
There's also one part of the ad where they say, don't put anything in your mouth if you don't know what it is without the permission of a loved one. Though to that, I would like to add the caveat, unless said loved one is your creepy uncle. Bowling alley animations. Honestly, do I even need to say anything here? I feel like this is just common knowledge. But bowling alleys just have really weird animations whenever you get certain scores, since a lot of these animations were done in like the early days of CGI, and a lot of these bowling alleys haven't really bothered to update them. And if they do, it's not like they're gonna spend a huge amount of their budget on hiring some really talented animators. And these animations just tend to be like surreal, low quality, and oftentimes over the top. In addition to normal bowling alley animations on YouTube, you can also find parody bowling animations, most notably those done by the Corridor crew. Larry Lawton. Larry Lawton is a former Coast Guard member who became a jewel thief, and not just a jewel thief, but like the biggest jewel thief in America, which resulted in him eventually being imprisoned, which he stayed in for 11 years before being released. After this, he wrote the book Gangster Redemption, which is about like the horrors of how terrible America's prison system is, and about criminal reform. And he created a YouTube channel where he talks about criminal reform and what the prison system is like. And for the final entry on the 5th tier of the YouTube iceberg, You Need Me. This is a video created in Gmod by the same person who made Nope.avi. The player is in this dark building being chased down by this monster who has the body of a human, except he walks on all fours. And instead of a normal head, he has 6 elongated necks that stretch out in different directions, each of which has a G-Man head at the end of it, with each of these heads constantly repeating, "You need me," every couple of seconds, though they're not synced up, so it results in all of the "you need me's" overlapping, so it sounds like, "You need me." The player runs into the darkest parts of the building to try and escape from the G-Man monster, but it ends up catching up to them. But instead of it unaliving them or doing anything, it just sits there and continues repeating, "You need me." And then the video ends. Ah, so this is the Skibidi toilet that all the kids these days are talking about. Alright, that was it. That was every entry in the Weirdo tier, the 5th tier of the massive YouTube iceberg. Come back in next time and we will do the 6th tier, which is the Researcher tier. Thank you for watching, and bye.